All right. So today we are going to talk about recording GIFs inside of Luminate CRM. And the first thing I always like to start out with when I'm talking about GIFs inside of Luminate CRM is just a reminder that when we're using, or because we're using Luminate Online, all of our GIFs that come from Luminate Online are automatically going to sync to the Luminate CRM environment. There's nothing extra we have to push. There's no buttons. There's no extra process that we need to do on a daily basis of any kind in order to get GIFs to flow to the Luminate CRM environment. In a future training, what I'm going to be doing is showing you guys how to connect donation forms and donation campaigns from Luminate Online, how to connect those to the Luminate CRM environment so GIFs will flow to the correct campaigns and the correct designations like we want them to. But again, everything here that we have inside of Luminate Online from a GIF perspective, all going to flow into Luminate CRM. Now, currently with Razor's Edge, you've got a little extra process you have to do, right, in order to get GIFs to get over there?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so that will completely go away.
That would be nice.
So the other thing that I like to do as we get started is to talk about what types of transactions you currently use inside of Razor's Edge and in Luminate Online. We know that you're recording single one-time GIFs. We know that you have pledges. We know that you have recurring GIFs. I think looking at your data, we saw stock GIFs. Is that still a thing? Are you guys still recording stock GIFs?
Maybe 1 or 2 a year.
Okay. And then also in-kind GIFs. I saw some of those as well. And that's still happening?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are there any other types of transactions that you're recording in RE right now?
No, we don't have any like bequests yet or anything like that.
Okay.
I noticed that there's like a grants option.
Yep.
So I'm curious to see like what the difference is there, or if that's just an extra way to categorize it.
And so you guys currently receive grants, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So from a grants perspective, crazy stuff as far as what you can do with grants, and it's something that we'll probably hit the grants during next week's call, maybe touch on it a bit at the end of the day. But essentially, grants uses sort of this moves management philosophy, M-O-V-E-S, moves. Have you guys heard of moves management before?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. And so really you could take a gift from day 1 through when we actually receive it. It's a whole big thing. Have we looked at moves grants before? Together?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
No.
All right. Okay. What about, do you guys do major gifts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,000 and above.
Okay, great. Excellent. So in Limited CRM, we can accommodate all those gift types, but also we can accommodate matching gifts. Do you guys record matching gifts at all?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And I think that's all of them. The only thing we didn't talk about was plan giving, but I think you mentioned that's something that we're not quite doing yet. So, good. So when it comes to donations and recording them inside of the Luminate CRM environment, we are going to record gifts as a part of what we call a batch. It's batch gift entry inside of Luminate CRM here. And really it's a way to take a day's worth of checks in cash, or let's call them transactions, I guess, or perhaps a week, depending on how often you enter them into the database, and sort of put them in all together, adding a little bit of efficiency to the process, rather than just adding one, going to another contact record, adding another one, and so on and so forth. Using the batch tool, I think, definitely makes things go a bit faster. So that's where we're actually going to start today. Looking at what we can create and how we can use the batch tool, and then also jump in to what these transactions look like in Luminate CRM once we create them, and then moving on to the more fun things like stock gifts, in-kind gifts, major gifts, and so on and so forth. Does anybody have any questions before we start diving in here?
No, I don't think so.
Cool. Okay. So let's hop up, and I'm going to go to my Batches tab here. And when I'm in my Batches tab, you're going to see two different sort of windows or sections. One is called Batches, obviously. The other is called Batch Template. And so essentially what a batch template means is when we start working with our batches, we're going to go ahead and select a number of different fields that we want to have as part of our page layout, part of our batch template, that we're commonly going to fill in as we are recording donations or creating donations for Luminate CRM. Because we're using a batch template, this allows us to not have to go through and reset every single time which fields we potentially want to capture, and it's going to make more sense in a second when I show you. But think about a template from a batch perspective is like any other template you'd use for any other process in any other job, whether it's on a computer or anywhere else. It's just sort of that starter, that sort of direction you're going to use every single time when you come in, and in this case, record a batch. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to try to create these for you today so they're useful for you when we're live and up and running. I'm going to create a batch template here. First thing we're going to do is give it a name. Now, currently, when you guys are recording GIFs, if you do so in a sort of a batch process, is there any rhyme or reason to it? Do you group transactions in a batch based off of transaction type, perhaps, maybe payment type, or is it if you get them all on Tuesday, everybody goes into the one single batch together?
No, like they're separated out, like for some monthly donors, like monthly donors from Sphere that we bring over. That's, I mean, there's a few other like one-offs, but yeah, no, we do group them together.
Okay. So are you saying like if you got 2 checks in the mail and then you had 2 donations from Sphere, you put them together in one batch, or they'd be separate?
Oh, you know what, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's confusing. So because we have to bring the Sphere donations over, they're technically online ones. But yeah, we have to enter them. We enter them in a batch into Razor's Edge. But for checks, those would be different. I personally would think all checks would go on one batch.
Okay. So.
And you might do them like weekly or something.
Okay. Okay. So, from a batch perspective, one of the things we have to do when we create a template is we have to give it a name. And some organizations will lump their transactions together based off of the campaign they're a part of. Some will do it by payment type, cash, check, credit card, so on and so forth. Some will do it by designation. Others, and I think maybe the majority, will just go ahead and, hey, all of Tuesday's transactions are going to be part of the same batch, regardless of where they came from. So I'm simply going to create a batch right now, or a template right now, called all donations. And essentially for today's training, what we're going to say is that we're going to record all of our donations, regardless of which type, regardless of where they came from, using this one single template. Now moving forward, as you're going to see here, you can create an infinite number of templates. So if you need one that's specific only for Sphere, you can create a Sphere template. If you need one that's for all other GIFs, you can go ahead and create a template for that. Entirely up to you. There's no rule that says your transactions, as you're recording them, have to be sorted into different batches. You can all put them into one daily batch or one weekly batch, whatever makes the most sense for you guys. So flexibility here. Sometimes this really, how you do this also kind of depends on how accounting maybe likes to see things as well. So entirely up to you what we do here. After I give it a name, I'm going to click Save. And on my next screen, I need to decide from my list of fields here which fields I need to record data against when I'm recording my batch. So another question for you guys right away. A lot of this will be me asking you questions today. What types of information do you typically record in Razor's Edge when you're recording a gift?
Yeah, so it'd be like name, really I would say as much information as we have. So like for a check, it would most likely be, name, address, check date, amount,
Okay. Check
and
number?
if it's yep, check number. And if it's something that's coming in from online, we definitely would capture the email if we have the email.
What about things, because definitely, you know, especially considering new donors, right, we're going to want to make sure we have to create a contact record for them. But what about things that are specific to the transaction? You know, removing somebody's name, address, phone number, email address from the equation. What things specific about the transaction are you typically capturing? Check date, obviously who the donor is.
Would we be getting into the designations yet, or did that come later?
Yep, absolutely. You know.
Yeah, so we would definitely be doing the designations and.
Yep. The campaign or appeal.
Yes, and we want to. Yeah, campaign appeal and something I need to talk to you about later, but like, yeah, pretty much like the hierarchy. So the account that it would go into.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, are you ever recording in kind or in honor of, or memory of, I'm sorry, gifts inside of users?
Yeah.
So obviously then there are fields there that you want to record as part of a transaction as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just open up a transaction quick to show you what some of those fields are from an in honor or in memory of type of gift. We've got a section here, and we're going to go through what the whole gift looks like in just a little bit, but some fields to point out, and we can indicate whether it's honor or memorial or in memory of. Do you distinguish between the two?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to bring that one into our layout here. And then we've got things like if we're notifying anybody of this, we can track that. Is there any sort of notification that you guys are currently recording?
Yes. A letter will go out. Mm-hmm.
Do you record that against the gift currently? To say that a letter is going out for this transaction? Like,
yeah, I think it does. Yes. It'll say like letter received or sent or yes.
Okay. So I need to create another pick list option here for letter. Let me do that.
Okay.
Really
yeah, because as of right now, they're done. Yeah, through the mail.
Cool. So this is going to be for our honor memorial notification method. The new one called letter. All right, great. And again, so you notice I just created a new field there. This is a lot of like what we did the other day in training.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow, but you're pretty fast at it.
Okay. And then we've got our, do you record like an address for which you're going to notify? Does that currently get recorded in Raiser's Edge?
Yes.
Okay. And what about the date at which you send out the notification?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's in there now, but it would be nice to have it.
Okay. And so I should have pointed out here, all I'm doing is when I'm putting together my template, these fields here are not currently in sort of what's going to be my layout on my page for recording donations. And by checking these boxes, they're being added to the fields that are going to be included on the page that I record my gifts on. So that's what I'm doing here when I'm checking these boxes when I'm creating my template. And when I'm finished here, I'm going to save my batch layout, and then all these fields will be on a page that I'll be able to reuse over and over and over again as I'm recording my gifts. And then do you put a message in there that you like to record? Or does that sort of just come from what you put in the letter?
Right. So we do have a standardized template. The only reason that that message area might be nice is because a lot of times folks will write their own little message that we have to include on top of our standard letter.
Yep. So some organizations will record that extra message in the database from that person. Do you want that in the database, or you just kind of put it in the letter?
No, if it's an option, I'd like to have it. Yeah.
Okay. And then we have the person we're honoring. I'm guessing you catch that. You captured
right.
that. And then, do you know who you're notifying? I'm guessing if you're setting up a letter, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Good. So, anything else? And I know this kind of seems tedious right now, but you'll see why I'm going through this in a second. Anything else we can think of that we're recording? I'm trying to think back to your spreadsheets from Ridge's Edge. I don't think there's anything else that I can think of, at least. I know there was a field called cardholder name. Is that something you're recording for offline gifts in case of like a credit card transaction? Or that's just sort of stuff that was being recorded in the past?
Yeah, no, not really, because no, I would say no.
Okay. Excellent. So
the only other thing I can think of is there's a reference field if we have any special notes, but maybe there's another place to put those notes.
Like a note about the gift?
Yeah.
We can go ahead and add the description field. That's oftentimes a place where if you've got a little extra detail about the gift, it'll go there.
That's up to Lindsay, yeah.
Yeah, no, perfect.
Okay.
Because I'd rather have two, like more than enough, because if you leave it, you can just leave it blank if you don't have anything to put there, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But at the same time, like if you created this and then we're like, oh shoot, we need to add something, we can go back and edit it.
Yep. You can add more. You can take more away.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do. I mean, really flexible. Essentially, we're just creating the template. When you're actually recording the batch, you can add more to the template if you want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's that payer if different field where if we're recording a gift under Lindsay, but technically the check came from, I can't think of a good example, but there are times when we use that. And it's really for page and Sage data entry, I guess.
So in that case, again, and this is a really actually a good point. When it comes to Luminate CRM, far and away the best practice is to record a gift in the donation or in the database for whoever wrote the check, whoever's credit card it was. And then, like if Matt Devine, and this is even more common through like a donor advised fund or something like that, but whoever's name is on that check, definitely best practice, that's who should get the hard credit, who the donation should be recorded against in the database, and then we can give the soft credit to somebody else.
I agree. That's not traditionally how accounting wanted it. Mm-hmm. So, Lindsay, I would just note that for however
Matt,
you
can you
that.
say that again?
Yes. So, I like to use the example of like a donor advised fund. Are you guys familiar with what a donor advised fund is?
Yes.
Okay. So essentially, again, let's say Matt, sends money to his fund for the purposes of making a donation to Darkness to Light. We'll call it $10,000. Well, we know, right, that gift is really coming from Matt Devine, but he uses his donor advised funds, and I think most often it's for tax purposes, tax benefit purposes. Right. So you get the check from the fund, right? in your database, you should be recording that you received a donation from XYZ Fund. And then what we would do is we would give Matt soft credit, because really the gift is coming from his checkbook, but it's coming via, this XYZ Fund, this other organization.
Okay, this is so funny because that's always how I've done it. Like at my old foundation, it was like, no, whoever's on the check, that's who it has to be entered as.
Yep.
But yeah, Kendall's right. I just had that conversation with our finance and accounting, and that's not what they recommended. But I don't know that it was I'm not sure what the reasoning was. So what is your reasoning for?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, if you do it a different way, it's not like it's going to break limited CRM, and limited CRM is definitely not going to prevent you from doing this stuff. The reasons why I call it a best practice is because as we look at a donor's giving history, for example, let me actually grab a contact that has donations here, and I actually think Mr. Zimmerman does. Here we go. Is when we're looking at somebody's giving history, for example, we've got a couple different sections as we talked about. One is somebody's overall giving history. One is somebody's hard credit giving history. And again, these are the transactions that came directly from this person. But then also, we've got a soft credit giving history here. Which transactions was, in this case, John, was he the influencer for? He didn't write the check. It wasn't his credit card, but it was from his doings, or whatever you want to say. That's why the transaction actually came in. If we recorded this as a hard credit, it would actually look like John wrote 12 checks to us, or swiped his credit card 12 times. And even technically, it can sometimes be confusing from a receipting purpose as well. And year-end acknowledgement to say, hey, thank you for your donation. Well, yes, that's true, and even in the case of a soft credit, like we want to receive these people who send via the donor advised fund, telling them thank you, but we want to sort of be strict and careful. And again, I don't know how the good old government comes into play here as well, but the check technically didn't come from John. It came from somebody else. And in our database, we'd technically be recording it inaccurately. We'd be saying this check came from John, putting in a check number, a check date, when that's not true at all.
No, I completely agree, and I'm really glad to hear it. So I can have that conversation separately, but that's how I would like to do it. Okay, cool.
Okay, well, I'm glad we had that conversation then.
Me too.
So in situations like that, and then also in other situations, again, thinking about your historical data, are you currently giving people soft credit for gifts when they come in, or is that sort of done historically? Not done much anymore.
No, we still do.
Okay, great. So soft crediting is something we can actually do as part of our batch as well.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
I think it's like what we were just talking about, but so what I run into is we get a lot of donations that are from a company. So like Benevity is one of them.
Yep.
And like we have a board member that will donate hundreds, thousands of dollars, but it's through Benevity. So when we get the funds, like from their bank account to ours, it's from Benevity.
Yep.
So in my mind, I put it in coming from Benevity, but then I soft credit the donor.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
In John's case here, I don't know, obviously, the details about this transaction, but one of his gifts was the Coastal Community Foundation of South Carolina. Again, this was like 15 years ago, right? But this is an organization where John received $5,000 soft credit for it, according to your historical data. So I'm kind of guessing, just simply seeing the word foundation, that perhaps this is exactly how it was done a while ago as well.
Yeah.
Or it could be for something, some other completely different reason. But Lindsay, we're definitely on the same page here as far as direction to go.
Okay, great.
So I'm going to add our contact roles checkbox in here as well, where we can give people soft credit. Now, final question, and then we're actually going to get past this boring stuff and move into what do we do now. When you are recording soft credit for people, are there ever situations where you are giving them soft credit but not for the full amount of the transaction?
Yeah, I think that's happened before. Don't you think, Kendall?
I am so sorry. I missed the latter part of that because there's a lot of chatter around me.
Oh, no problem.
So, oh, go ahead, Lynn.
So Matt was just saying, like, sometimes if we soft credit a person, it's not for the full amount. Like, we might split it up. If it was a large check, we might soft credit maybe 2 people.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Benevity example that you just gave, you would enter it under Benevity and then soft credit Jamie for like 1,000, and then Maureen Sanders for 200. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Was that answering your question, Matt?
It is, but actually I've got another question now. You mentioned, we'd soft credit Jamie for a certain amount and then another person for another amount. Who are those people? Like, are either of those 2 people employees?
Not of our. No, not. You mean of Darkness to Light, or?
Okay. Yeah, of Darkness to Light.
So
no. You referenced 2 people there.
That's another example of it's like an online giving platform. So it's not coming directly to us. It's like the third party platform is then giving us the money.
Yep.
Yeah.
So who are those 2 people again that we said we were going to give soft credit to? And just in that example.
Oh, one's a board member, happens to be a board member, and then the other one's just a donor.
Is he licking the windows again?
Yeah, like Jamie donates through Microsoft, and Microsoft uses Benevity as their platform, and Maureen donates, I think, through Xerox, or maybe Microsoft. So it's like a completely different donor from a completely different company sending their monthly gift through Benevity. So we might get $1,200 from Benevity, but 1,000 of it is from Jamie, 40 of it is from Chad Scott, and the rest is from Maureen.
So multiple people making donations through Benevity.
Yeah. And we have several different platforms like that.
Okay. Perfect. That sort of leads into another example I was going to talk about later, kind of like employee matching gifts. A little bit different.
Oh, good.
Philosophy, but sort of the same direction from an LCRM perspective. So okay, that's good. Cool. Okay, so what we've done here is we've created our batch template now. 20 minutes later. Don't worry, it gets a lot faster than this once you're in here doing it on your own. Things to point out right away when we're looking at our batch template. We've got a listing of fields that are going to be required inside of Luminate CRM. If you remember when we created contact records, for example, we had little thin red lines to the left of some of the fields, and all those are required. Same type of thing when we're recording gifts. We've got a certain set of fields here that we have to have for every transaction, but then also we've got the fields now below that you wanted to go ahead and add. And we can go ahead, and you're going to see in our template, I can actually grab this, I call it a little hamburger. We've got 3 lines here. You can click and drag and move these around, depending if it makes a difference or not, where you see them on the page template that we're going to look at next, just so you are aware that that is an option here as we're going through this. Other things that we can do, we can actually require additional fields to have a value when we're recording gifts inside of a batch. It doesn't have to be a requirement, but just be careful if you ever do check one of these boxes and you do get a transaction that doesn't have this value, you're going to have to come back in and change your batch requirements. And then we're going to go ahead and talk about the default value and locked values a little bit later. Now, the final thing I want to make note of, in case it's not clear at this point, is that inside of Luminate CRM, we can record credit card transactions. Okay? And we can do so as part of a batch as well. So, go ahead.
When you say that, is it strictly recording, or does that mean if you're putting the credit card information in, you have to run it?
We are processing the gift. during the batch entry.
So I do have a question. Yeah, so I have a question. What if you, this might not happen, but let's say, for instance, we've already received the money, but we need to record it and it's a credit card. Can you still put that it was a credit card but not actually run the transaction? Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. One of our payment types here is actually credit card offline, so we're indicating, yep, it was a credit card, but it was from an offline environment. So.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've got all of our fields in here. I'm going to save my batch layout. And now we're going to come up and click my Create Batch button and start entering donations. Before I do that, though, really quick, I'm going to go back up to my Batches tab. And you can see here that I've got a brand new template to use moving forward. So every time I come in and I record my daily batches, I can click on the template name and click the Create Batch button. And we're on our way to actually creating a batch. So a couple things. Currently, do you have any pledges or recurring gifts that are not being processed and limited online?
Yes.
Okay. Do
Those
you
are the
have any
Sphere
that are
ones.
not coming out of Sphere?
Oh, no.
Like, does anybody ever have a pledge where they say, I'm going to give you 12 installments, let's say, and I'm going to send you a check every month to cover my pledge? Does that happen? It doesn't really happen for many people anymore, but.
Yeah, I've had experience with that from where I worked before. Like, they would send a monthly check, but I don't know of anybody, Kendall may, but I don't know of anybody who's currently doing that with Darkness to Light.
No, I mean, we record it as cash. That's how accounting wants to do it. So, like, everyone in Sphere, even though originally they should have been recorded as pledges, we just record it as cash received every month.
Okay. And so it just really comes across as like a one-time donation?
Right. And the only thing that I'm thinking about with regard to pledges is, like, we have money that we know is pending. Like, we're expecting, I don't know, money from Microsoft. So we wouldn't really enter it as a pledge. We would just put it in the gift as like a pending gift, right? I forget the word for it. Not pending. Is it pending?
Pending works.
Okay, yeah. There's that drop-down field that tells you what stage the gift is in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, I think we would use that to record what we would consider pledges.
Yep, like a one-time pledge type of thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, or I'm sorry, pledge with one single installment.
Yeah.
Yep. But that's a great example.
For clarification, that like the ones from Sphere that are technically monthly, but they show as just a one-time, we have other ways of tracking them and noting them. Like we would put in the appeal or whatever that it's a monthly donation.
Yeah, so that's one of my follow-up questions is that currently it sounds like, again, if I follow in Razor's Edge, when you recorded a monthly gifts from Sphere, from Sphere's perspective, I'm sorry, in Razor's Edge, it just simply looks like a single one-time donation, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Okay. Is that the plan to continue
coding,
that same process until we make the switch to Luminant CRM and get rid of Sphere?
No, I think we talked yesterday about trying to get them in as recurring gifts.
Trying to switch them over whether we email them or call them or.
Oh, okay. I might have.
But until that happens,
are all those gifts in Sphere electronic?
Huh?
Or
sorry,
are all those gifts in Sphere? Are those credit card transactions? All of them?
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask
we only
a
have
little bit.
one that's a check. One guy sends $30 a month. That's a check.
And that's recorded in Sphere?
No.
Just recorded in Razor's Edge?
Yeah.
Okay. Where I'm trying to go here, I guess, is that when we're creating our batch, not only are we allowed to create just single one-time donations, but we can record brand new pledges and brand new recurring gifts. And the details about both of those while we're creating a batch, if we get those types of gifts. And so what I'm trying to determine here is it useful to configure our batch to say, yes, every once in a while we might get a note in the mail or a phone call that says, hey, I want to start a brand new recurring gift or a brand new pledge with you guys? Or is it really just going to be happening, from Luminate Online? And it sounds like you've got one person currently who has a recurring gift, and they're sending in a check every month.
Yeah, Lindsay, you said yesterday that your goal is to have everyone enter their own gifts. Like, you don't want to be handling credit cards. And the chances of us getting, like, a check, another situation like James Kababik, is probably rare.
Right. And to be honest with you, Matt, I know you put all donations on here, but personally, I would probably create a separate batch where I do reoccurring gifts. You know what I mean?
Okay. Do you have a reason? And I'm not challenging you. I'm just curious to see how this fits in the Luminate CRM.
The reason to start with would really be for Sphere. Okay. Because before we do get those people to transition over, I will run the same however many people a month and, get their money in.
Okay. Gotcha. And do we want to start setting those up as recurring gifts from Sphere? Or do we want to continue to record those as single donations from Sphere?
That's a good question.
I guess it depends. Yeah. Since we haven't seen the reporting structure, we don't know how, that question would be answered when we know how it's going to be exported and given to accounting, right?
Well, and my other question is, let's say you set it up as recurring, but then once we actually get them to go and redo they submit on a new form, and set up their own, that information is going to change. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and so that's actually, perhaps another good point is that as we start using Luminate CRM and you start bringing over those transactions from Sphere, we can definitely set up a new recurring gift. Once those transactions, though, are moved from Sphere to Luminate Online, it's going to then create a brand new recurring gift. So we will be able to sort of continue. And so that's sort of one of my reasons for my question is it makes sense to continue to record these as one-time gifts and Luminate CRM just like you are inside of Sphere. I'm sorry, inside of Razor's Edge, or does it make sense to just have, 4 months, 5 months of a recurring gift, stop it, and then create a brand new one?
I see what you're saying. I think I would be more comfortable with the one-time gift. Mm-hmm. And then just once they do switch over, it'll set up the recurring gift.
And one of the things that you can do is, for example, using that description field, you could indicate there that it was from Sphere, if that's important.
Yeah, definitely.
And from a reporting perspective, and what gets passed to accounting, we can, essentially report in anything inside of Luminate CRM and output it in such a way that makes sense for you guys. So I don't know, it's tough for me to say that let's structure our gift entry based on the reporting capabilities. Honestly, in 5 years, we've always been able to put together a report that accounting needs, regardless of which way donations come in via batch.
Awesome.
That's great.
So if it's a transaction type and payment type, for example, along with the amount and the designation and campaign it went to, that's pretty standard stuff. So let's just let's enter some gifts. I'm going to go ahead and, for now, as a part of this template, check this box here that says, yes, we can create new pledges and new recurring gifts as a part of the gift entry. We're going to go through it because it sounds like it might be an option that you guys might want to have moving forward. Okay. Now, the other two requirements that I have here, we have to record the number of items and also the total amount of those items. So if I've got 3 checks and a credit card, well, I've got to put the number 4 here. And if those 3 checks in that credit card transaction add up to $550, then I've got to put that total amount here as well. Okay? So before we actually begin recording our donations, we want to go ahead and make sure we're recording these totals or these details about them. Now, if we were to add incorrectly, we can come back in and fix these. That's not a big deal. But they definitely are requirements as we get started. The other thing we want to do is give our batches a name every day. All right, this is by default in here as our batch template. We want to give it a name. For most organizations, number one, the name is never the same from one day to the next. And then also for many organizations, there's some sort of numeric value that they apply. In a lot of cases, it's the date, perhaps. So for example's sake, I'm going to go ahead and call this batch, and then today is the 3rd. So I would go 2018, 0803, and click Save. And now we can actually start to record donations. All right. So first things first, this is what my batch screen looks like. This is very similar, right, to what my template did look like a second ago. And in fact, in my field section, we can see all the fields that I designated to be part of my template. And as I mentioned also, we wanted to go ahead and add additional fields. We can do that on the fly. Up here in my batch detail information section, you can see my name, obviously. You can see the total number of items, the total amount of all my gifts that are going to be entered, and the fact that in this case we might be recording new pledges or recurring gifts inside of my batch as well. So the next thing we need to do is actually go ahead and enter my donations. And this is where the fun begins. Okay. Lots of things going on in this batch entry screen. First things first, we've got a batch status here that tells us the batch is configured. All right, we haven't actually entered any gifts yet. We have another batch status bar here that tells us about how close we are to entering the total amount of gifts based off of what we said should be in our batch. And then also items in progress. Again, another batch status bar that will start to count up as we add more details to this batch. Ultimately, we want to have 4 items recorded, and this will bring our progress meter here all the way up to 404. All right. So, row number 1, 2, 3, and 4. We can see here that we've got a row that is designated for each one of my transactions I'm going to record. We've also got a little sort of header section that tells us what these fields below it mean, what they're used for. And what Luminate CRM does in a lot of cases, in a lot of these columns, it applies sort of 2 entries into 1 column. So for example, we've got donation type here. This is my field for donation type. We've got donor here. This is my field for donor. But in this column, we've just got 1 field to work with. But then we jump back into amount in this field, close date in this field, and so on and so forth. And I think Luminate CRM really does this to sort of conserve space. Because as you'll see here, based off of the number of fields we say that we want to include in our batch, the page gets a little bit long from left to right here. So first things first, we need to decide who the gift is coming from. Is it coming from an individual, or is it coming from an organization? And to start, we're going to go say it's coming from an individual. I'm going to click my magnifying glass here, because I need to find who this donor is. So let's search for Matt Devine. And there's Matt Devine right here. So we can select his name. And again, we can search based off of a number of different criteria here, but I just simply use his first and last name. And then we'll select the Use Selected Contact checkbox or button. Then we can start entering in the details. This time we're just going to say it's a one-time gift. We'll say it is a $75 donation. All right. Gift date going to be today. Let's go ahead and find a campaign that we want to apply this to. Now, can you guys see the little pop-up window that just appeared?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and grab 2018 End of Year Online. And the next section is the designation. So what designation should this be applied to? And again, we can record more than one designation. This works pretty slick, I think. If I check the unrestricted checkbox, you'll notice it appears here on the right. And I've got a button that says Auto Allocate. If I click Auto Allocate, it's going to allocate that $75 towards my designation that I want to apply it to. Okay. But again, I can include more than one designation if I want. So I can go with restricted. And I can click Auto Allocate, and it automatically splits that up into 2 designations. And I can even go 3, 4, really an infinite number, and continue down this road here. What if they,
what if they weren't going to get the same, same amount?
Exactly, yep. So something that is not obvious here is that if I don't want to put in the same amount, this is actually a field I can modify manually. So I can put in $50 here, and I can put in $25 here. And as long as those add up to $75, I'm going to be okay.
That's awesome.
All right.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
Does it always show the inactive designations?
No. If there are inactive designations on here, then it is probably because I did not check them as being inactive. And I'll go look back at the spreadsheet that I had to make sure I've got that indication. Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't see the current funds at all. But I'll write that down. We can go over that.
I'm going to make a note of that as well. Check on inactive funds. I might have gotten it backwards when I put it in, based off of what's going on. Okay. Okay. So we're going to click Save. And you can see now I've got 2 designations indicated. I can always go back and modify this if I need to by clicking the split button again. Transaction type is going to be a regular donation in this case. We do have other options here, but for now it's going to be donation. Payment type came in as a check. I can record the check date, the check number, and then if I wanted to, if it was an honor or memorial gift, I could go through and select all these other fields here as well. Put in somebody's name, the date they were notified, that message. And again, all these are just text fields. You can put these details in.
That's great.
Awesome. Now once I've got my requirements in here, again indicated by that red line, and there's nothing else I want to fill in, I can simply click row number 2. A couple things are going to happen. Row number 1 is going to save automatically. You can see here that indication. But then also, you can see that my progress meters are changing. Now it tells me that my gift entry is in progress, and I've got 75 of 550 entered, and then also 1 of 4 items as well. Any questions so far?
No.
So, sorry.
No, sorry, I was saying no. I'm good.
Okay. Awesome. So let's go to row 2, and let's enter in another gift. This time, let's enter in a gift for an organization. Okay. So really the same process as what we looked at a second ago. We're going to start by selecting either individual or organization gift. This time, organization. And this time I'm going to go ahead, use my magnifying glass, find my organization name. So you'll notice this time the search criteria is changing a bit. Instead of searching for a person, this time I'm searching for an organization. Let's go ahead and search for Cathexis Partners. Notice when I search here, no organization has been found. So one of the really cool things that I can do from my batch entry screen is actually create a brand new record. All right, so in this case, I'm going to create a new organization. If this happened for a contact donation, I could also create a brand new contact here as well. So we'll click Create New Organization. I can put in a name. Any of these details that I have about the organization, like the location, phone number, so on and so forth, I could add those in. For now, I'm going to go ahead and leave those blank. Then we'll click Save. Uh-oh. Let's try again here. Interesting. So what's supposed to happen here, obviously, is when you click that Save Organization box, it's supposed to create a brand new organization record in the database. That is not happening. So I will get in touch with Blackbaud and figure out what's going on there, because this is definitely an error in the program. Just a heads up. So if you guys are in here practicing at all after this, this is supposed to create a brand new record.
Okay.
I'm actually curious. I'm going to change this really quick to individual again to see if it works for an individual. Create new contact. We'll click Save. Do you see what's happening there? It's actually creating a new contact record for Steve. How that box appeared. That's supposed to happen for organizations as well. And so it's really odd that that did not occur. Let me try one more time once. Create new. Save organization. Yep. So that is very strange. Okay. Let me make a quick note of this, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay. So does it make sense, though, that at least from on the fly we can create a brand new organization or contact record while we're in batch?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. So let's go and find an organization that does exist. There we go. Divine Foundation. They'll make them my donor. Again, we'll record a single gift here. We'll say this one's for, I don't know, $50. We'll say 150. Today's date. Again, select a campaign. This becomes very repetitive, but I'm going to show you something cool in just a little bit where we can kind of take the repetitiveness out of the equation. Auto allocate. It's a donation. And I could say this time, for example, credit card offline, right? So again, it was processed via credit card in other environments, but then in this case, and we want to make sure we indicate as such inside of the database here as well. Okay. Now, one of the other things that we can do, if we actually have a credit card to process, now, and it's not going to work right now because we're not connected to Luminate Online yet, but if I click credit card, oh, this is not going to show me the details here. Let me show you this really quickly, guys. And let me make another note here, because typically I can actually go ahead and show you everything that's involved with entering a credit card, except for processing it, and it's not actually letting me do that either. So I'm sorry. Let me make another note to check with Blackbaud on.
Okay.
And instead of showing you here like I should be able to, I'm actually going to log into another environment here really quick. Just so you can see what happens when you select.
Hello?
Did we lose Matt?
I think we did. He'll come back on. So, I'm totally fine. This is so similar. I'm excited because this is very similar to what I used to use.
Awesome.
So it's making a lot of sense to me. But I don't know. I don't think I'm going to ask him now. But at some point, because if we have if there's 5 levels of designations, I don't see where those 5 levels are.
Yeah, and also the soft credits.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that's just as easy to add, but yeah.
So maybe I will ask him when.
Yeah, I would ask him.
Okay.
Like, I kind of like to have batches set up, like, I think how you do it, like by gift type and by, by campaign, so that I can just enter them quickly with all the pre-designated stuff in there, so I don't have to choose.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hey.
Hey, sorry, I got booted out of my own call here for a minute. I don't know what happened. All right, sorry. So where I was headed with this is I wanted to show you what it actually looks like when you select credit card. Let me share my screen again here because I think that also shut down. Okay. We'll create a new batch quick, and actually I can use one that I've got created already here. So when I'm entering gifts, and I select the payment type of credit card, pick a donor here. It'll give me this little loading payment message, and that gives me a place to enter in all my credit card information. The number, CVV, which is not a requirement, the expiration date for the card, and then also the billing address. And so when we're processing a credit card, like I said, we can do all this from Luminate CRM when we're recording a batch. We don't need to go anywhere else. We don't have to go to Luminate Online or anything like that. The reason that the billing address fields are present is that sometimes when we are recording a gift via somebody's credit card, what happens is that perhaps the address tied to the credit card is not actually the address tied to their actual house. And like anything else, if you think about going to any website and making a purchase, if the credit card you're using does not match the address that's actually on the credit card company's file, you will not be able to process the credit card at all. So that's why those billing address fields are here, and this is really what it looks like when you want to process that credit card within a batch. Any questions about that?
No, but you're saying so like if we were doing a credit card, you put all the information in and hit save, it would go ahead and process it at that time?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool.
But if you choose offline gift, then it won't process it?
If you choose offline gift, you do not get the option to put in the credit card fields.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. So back to my batch here. We're going to just pretend this is credit card offline. And again, I can go right to my next row here. And again, now we see rows 2 of 2 saved, 225 of 550, and then 2 of 4 completed. Now, next transaction, let's go ahead. Individual gift again. Let's grab Steve Smith. This time we're going to say we're recording a brand new recurring gift. Okay? So first thing first, when I record this new transaction of recurring gift, I have to say how much is he going to or she going to go ahead and send to us on a regular basis. And we will say $100. And then we will also say, what's the start date of this gift? Well, we'll say today because we've actually got a check in the mail. as part of this indication here. And we want to include the first payment. Yes, we do. And how often? Monthly, quarterly, or yearly. We're going to leave this as a monthly recurring gift. And starts on the 3rd of every month. That's when we're going to expect to get the check, perhaps, because that's when we received it today. Okay. Now, once we finish putting in these details, what you're going to notice here is automatically my amount is filled in because I've indicated what my recurring amount is. But then also, my start date is also been recorded as my close date here as well, automatically. I need to select a campaign, just like I did before. Designation, you can do one or many. Transaction type, just a regular donation. And again, we can select our payment type here as well. And then we can proceed to the next one. Any questions about the recurring gift piece?
No. Oh, actually, can you click back on that one?
Absolutely. Oh, try again. There we go.
So if you were to uncheck, sorry if you said this, the include first payment, does that mean it just would start like on September 3rd?
No, so when we check and uncheck the include first payment checkbox here, I think it's going to make more sense. I'm going to create 2 of these, okay, and show you what the difference is going to be, because it's not exactly what we think it is. Let me create another individual gift from Matt Devine. And we'll go with recurring gift. So we need to have the last recurring gift be of a value of $225. Okay. So essentially, maybe this will make sense for you guys just by simply showing you the progress meter here as well. We know that when all is said and done, as a part of my batch gift entry, I need to record at least $550 that I've received today as a part of this gift. All right. Now, one thing that you'll notice is that because in this gift above here, I did not check the include first payment checkbox. It's only taking into consideration these 2 gifts up here. If I check that checkbox, then it changes to $325. Essentially, what I'm doing here is I'm saying that I have a recurring gift. I don't actually have the $100 today, but I do want to start the fact that I have this recurring gift. I want to create that recurring gift parent record inside Illuminate CRM. I'm just saying that I don't actually have the first installment. I'm expecting to receive that later, a date at which I could fast forward into the future, for example.
So in that case, it's almost more like a pledge.
Well, this is where we can get complex, right? I would say yes. If somebody says that, hey, I want to donate $25 to you on a monthly basis, sort of forever, or until I decide I want to stop, then I would say it's a recurring gift. I would record it as a recurring gift, but put it into the future.
Okay.
The difference... Oh, go ahead. Was there a question?
You just made me think of something, and I wasn't sure if it was there. Is there a start and stop date that you can put in?
So with... And I apologize if we hadn't talked about this previously, but there's a key distinct difference in Luminate Online and Luminate CRM between a pledge and a recurring gift. Lindsay, are you aware of the difference between a pledge and a recurring gift and Luminate Online, what that means?
I don't think I am, but I'm sure you have talked about it, so I don't...
I actually don't think that I have, and perhaps because you guys were already using Illuminate Online, I kind of just assumed that you might know, and that's my bad. So in Illuminate Online, you can give donors the option. I actually don't know if you are in your donation forms or not, but you can give donors the options of making a recurring gift or a pledge. Okay? And essentially what a recurring gift is, it's a promise from somebody or statement that they are going to give you, let's say, $25 per month forever. or at least maybe until they decide they're going to stop. Okay? So there is no end date, there is no close date or stop date. They're just going to keep going until you've finished up, or until you stop it, or until they decide to stop it. Now, pledge, on the other hand, a little bit different. With a pledge, maybe Matt says, I'm going to pledge to you $1,200 total. I'm going to do so in 12 monthly installments, $100 each. So he's really defined some specific terms. I'm going to give you $100 per month for 12 months. When that's done, my gift is complete. I'm not giving you any more, so to speak. So in that case, you sort of have a start and an end date with the pledge because you've got a goal amount in specific number of installments that you're going to reach, whereas for a recurring gift, you have no idea what that end amount is going to be, nor do you know what that last date is because it could go on forever.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yep. So, you're back to your question about the include first payment checkbox here. I know it sounds silly, and I would say it's extremely rare to have a recurring gift that's, not part of Limited on the Line, number one. But number two, have one where they say, I want to do this every month. I just don't have my first payment today. Right? It would make you think of it should be a pledge, but really the open-endedness when we're recording an offline gift is how we can kind of distinguish between pledge and recurring gift. If you know it's going to be a specific number of payments, make it a pledge. If you have no idea how many payments it's going to be or the total amount, then make it a recurring gift.
Gotcha.
Yep. Did you have a follow-up question? Yeah.
So when you are ready to start it, would you just go under that single donor and do it?
No, actually, you can record your offline installments as part of a batch as well. So this is what we're going to get into sort of in step 2 of recording the batch here. But one of the things that we can do is that if I create this recurring gift for Steve, all right, and then I finally get that first installment, we'll say we'll fast forward here a bit. When I'm doing my batch entry, and I'm recording a gift, a check that I received for Steve, and let's say he doesn't indicate on that check, hey, this is supposed to go towards my recurring gift. Luminate CRM is actually going to go ahead and pop up a little indication for us that says, hey, Steve has a recurring gift. Would you like to imply this check towards his installment that's due?
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense? Not really.
No, it does. I guess what doesn't make sense, and I might just not be getting it for some reason, but I guess I don't understand, like, let's say he says he's going to make this $100 gift, and like, personally, I wouldn't put it in there until we received it. I mean, I guess what would be, do you know what I mean?
Well, I think the ability to put it into Luminate CRM, knowing that it's pending, is that it allows you to track the gifts that have been promised to you that you should be getting.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So it's going to show, and once you uncheck that box, it's going to show as pending.
Exactly.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yep, exactly. So it's going to be there. Like you said, showing up as pending. We know that we need to collect on this, or some people like to run a report on all their pending donations for the next month or next quarter. And again, you're going to see that in here because we haven't actually received it yet.
I gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
While we're on this topic, really quick, do you know of any way to enter a pledge online through Illuminate donation form? You can enter recurring gifts, but we had a donor who said, I want to give you $200 a month for 6 months, but it has to stop after 6 months, and I don't want to give you my credit card. I want to enter it myself online.
Yes.
Oh.
You have to. Yeah, we can do that. You have to set up your donation form to allow that.
Okay.
If let me just go to your website right now, really quick.
Well, we don't have to do that now unless you have time.
Well, I don't. We won't set it up. I actually just want to check out your donation form, but I can show you later on how we can make the change. So.
Awesome.
I go to donate now. So currently you only give them the option to select this every month, making it a recurring gift, right?
Now, that was the only option I saw in the donation form setup, but it might be that I just wasn't looking in the right place. So, okay.
But
Awesome. I'll ask you about that later.
Yeah, bottom line,
Lindsay.
absolutely. You can allow people to define monthly, quarterly, yearly. You can allow them to define how many payments they want to make as well. So
awesome.
It is an option. And if you don't want to make this a part of your regular donation form, one of the other things we could do is we could very quickly and easily set up another donation form that we don't actually put on our website and just send this gentleman a link that allows him to go ahead and punch in his details.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
Awesome.
So,
thank you.
Absolutely. Cool. Absolutely. So, yes, totally. You know what, during our next call, let's just do that really quick next Wednesday if you guys want.
Yeah. All right, I wrote it down. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Any other questions before we move to what a pledge looks like in LCRM?
No.
Okay. So let's go to row number 4. And again, you'll notice I left that checkbox unchecked to show you what this looks like once we save our batch. So this time, we'll make this from Matt Devine again. We'll go with pledge. Again, we get this little drop down here. First things first, what's the total amount of the pledge going to be? So not what the monthly or quarterly or yearly installment is that I'm going to receive, but what's the overall amount that I'm going to get in, okay? This time we're going to go ahead and say that it is, I don't know, let's see, I've got to fill out $225 here, so what's a good 225 divided by 5, or times 5. $1,125 pledge. Because we need to say that the number of payments then is going to be 5, expecting 5 installments. You'll notice what happened right away is my amount appeared in my amount column. Basically, Luminate CRM takes the total amount of the pledge, divides it by the number of payments we're expecting, and in goes that value. Start date going to be, we'll say today. Again, I can uncheck this checkbox again. Then we're in a bit of a trouble because we need to adjust my total amount we're expecting as part of this batch. So we're going to leave this one checked for now.
Gotcha.
We'll leave this monthly. Again, we've got options here, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. And we'll say the 3rd day of every month. But we can get really technical. The 3rd Wednesday of every month. I mean, we've got lots of different options here. We could even say we're not expecting it every month, but we're expecting it every 2 months. So if you ever have anything that's pretty complicated from a donor, what they're wishing for, Luminate CRM can pretty much accommodate anything when it comes to a pledge. So we'll hide these details. Again, let's pick a campaign. Grab a designation. Transaction type is donation here. It's going to be from a check. And we can put in a check date because we actually received our first installment in this case, we're going to say. We'll give it a number. All right. Now we'll click Save the last row. So a couple things are happening. Gift entry in progress. Our items entered is 4 out of 4, but my payments entered is $100 short. Okay? Because again, initially we said, well, we've got this $100 recurring gift, but we don't actually have the first installment, so what do we do now? Well, as I mentioned before, we can make some adjustments to our total quantity and total amount of donations in our batch, even while we're in the process of this. There's a little link on the top right-hand corner called Batch Options. If I click Batch Options, I can edit my total amount field. We'll make it 450 and click Save. Now I can go back into the Enter Gift screen. And now you will see that my progress meter matches up. We've got 450 of 450 entered. Items in progress equals 4 to 4. So all my gifts have all the details that they need. The next thing that I need to do is go ahead and click the Check Entries checkbox. You'll notice I've got two little errors here. I have not errors, just sort of attention getters, if you will. Let's see what this first one says. You have an outstanding payment existing on a contact. So this is saying, hey, data entry person at Darkness to Light, Matt has an existing pledge right now. Instead of creating a brand new single gift for that $100 donation, do you instead want to apply this as a pledge installment? This is what I was talking about a little bit ago, where if you get a check in the mail and there's no indication that it's for a recurring gift or a pledge, Luminate CRM is going to call out to you that, hey, this person actually has an open pledge or recurring gift that we're expecting a payment for. Just want you to know about that. You can apply it here if you want, or you can just simply create a brand new donation for this person. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Same thing's going to happen here for this one. So we've got another donation from Matt Devine. Hey, he's got an open pledge. We're expecting installment 1 of 1. You can apply it here or just create a brand new donation. We're going to create a brand new donation. And then we need to click the Check Entries box one more time. This time we get all green arrows. It means everything from Luminate CRM's perspective is good. All of our required fields are populated. We've matched both of our progress meters. We've addressed any of the open recurring gifts or pledges. And then finally, we need to commit our batch. When we click Commit Batch, this is actually going to create the donation records inside of Luminate CRM. To this point, all we've done is record the details. This will actually create the records. Are you sure you want to create or commit? We'll say commit. And LCRM will burn and churn. And here is our batch. We've got a status now being committed. You will see also that we've got these golden locks next to these check marks. That means that this batch is in, it's been recorded. We cannot make any adjustments to the batch itself. All the details are locked and set in stone. So once we finish this, let's go to batch options. We can see a couple things have happened. Number one, in my related list, we can see that we've actually created 3 separate donations as a part of this batch entry. We've created 1 pledge, and we've created 1 recurring gift. Let's take a look at these. Let's grab Matt Devine's $75 donation. This is what a donation record looks like inside of Luminate CRM. Again, the structure from a fields and sections perspective is very similar to like contacts and accounts and other things that we've looked at so far. Automatically, the donation is given a name. It takes into consideration the donor's name, the amount of the gift, the donation record type it is, in this case it's a single donation, and then also the date that the gift was received on. The donor's name is recorded here, and the account, the amount of the gift. There's also a field for tax-deductible amount, and if we ever had any that had a benefit value, so to speak, we could go ahead and add a different benefit value here. Let's say that this was a $25 benefit value or non-tax deductible portion of this gift, and I click Save. Notice it changes that tax-deductible amount to $50. So in the case of recording transactions, maybe for like events and things like that, this will come in handy.
Yeah.
Benefit value is another field we can actually add to the batch entry screen, so it's not as if you've got to create your batch and then go back into all the gifts and type in the benefit value. You can do that right from batch entry. Was there a question?
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Okay. We've got our close date here, our stage, again, the gift has been received. We've got our campaign, a record ID, which is just given to all of our transactions. You can see the type came from an individual. The transaction type is a donation. Probability just simply means that we've received the gift. Then also we've got a link back to the batch that it was a part of. So at any point in time, if we're looking at a donation record and I click the batch link, it'll take me back and show me what batch the gift was recorded as part of. And then the other fields down below are just simply going to record based off the details we put in when we're recording the gift. We've got our check payment type, the check number, the check date. If we had a credit card type, if it would have been a credit card transaction, that would have been recorded with these details here. So very similar to what you're going to see coming over from Luminate Online. Okay. If it was an honor or memorial gift, these fields would have been populated here as well, automatically. Again, these are details like I showed you as a part of our batch when we can record these fields, these values there. If a gift comes from Luminate Online, that's in honor or in memory of somebody, these are the fields that are going to be populated for us. Okay. We've got fields for donor preferences, mark as anonymous, for example. When we're receiving or acknowledging a gift, we can use these fields here to go ahead and mark as acknowledged or receipted. Matching gifts, we're going to come to this section of fields here in a little bit. I'll show you what to do and how to record a matching gift. The next section, though, is our designations. Okay. As a part of this gift, we said the unrestricted fund gets $50, our designation, and the restricted designation gets $25. Not only are these recorded here, but also in one of my related lists, and we talked about this just a little bit the other day, I've got my donation designation relationship records. Okay, and again, these are the extra records that are created that indicates for us that $50 went towards the unrestricted fund and $25 went towards the restricted fund. Now, if I were to change these on the fly, that's definitely okay. I could give Kathy here 25 and leave unrestricted with 50. And I can click Save Designations. Let me refresh my screen here. Now, what's going to happen is that my designations have changed here as well. So by making changes to that widget and clicking the Save button from a designation perspective, it's automatically going to update and change these other records that exist here as well. So if you make a mistake with a designation, do note that you can always change it.
I have a question about the designations. So when we were doing some previous training, I think you said that you're able to have like 5 levels of designations.
Campaigns. 5 levels of campaigns.
Okay. And now, can you record a campaign?
Can you what?
Now, did we do that? Did we?
Yep, we did. We put in the...
Okay, so where do the 5 levels come in? Can you do that on a batch?
So when we record a donation, we select one campaign. And then what happens is, let me open up our campaigns tab. Again, I think I've got one of my examples here from before. But maybe not. I'm trying to think of what I called mine from when we were doing training. Do you guys remember by chance?
Oh my gosh, I don't.
Might not be in here.
Which one was at the end of year?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about if when we did training, if I created a campaign hierarchy for you guys. I'm pretty sure that I did, but I don't know if it's in here.
You did, yeah. It was like end of year. Let's see. Yeah, it might have been the EOI. No.
Nope.
So, because we had end of year online, end of year mailed, end of year special event. Yeah, there you go. And the mailing number 2, mailing number 1.
I think So these are not what I created, but this will still work for us for this example, based off of what I pulled in from Razor's Edge. So we've got this parent campaign here, special events SC. But we've got all these other campaigns here that are sort of that level 2 of the campaign hierarchy, right?
Right.
All these are part of special events. So we select one single campaign. Let's say it was 05 board. That donation gets recorded as a part of 05 board, and the value of that donation then also rolls up to special events. So I'm not selecting multiple unique campaigns. I'm only selecting one, and then the value of that donation rolls up to all the other levels above it.
Okay. So you basically just select what we would think of as the appeal.
Yes,
the very
exactly.
Base
yep.
or the package. Okay.
The very
gotcha.
bottom of, yes, 100%. Yep.
Okay.
Designations completely separate from campaigns.
Right.
And there's no hierarchy for designations.
Okay. And where do the GL codes fall?
Those are part of the designation records.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yep. So if we
but
go back,
can they be tied to the campaigns, or no?
Can the designations be tied to the campaigns?
Yeah.
Yep.
What I mean, does that make sense?
So on a campaign record, let me open one of these up, and I did that for some of yours actually.
Yeah.
You can tie a default designation to a campaign.
Okay.
One single designation though. You can't have multiple. So I could say, like, if 05 board, I knew that by default all my transactions that came in for this campaign were going to be applied to this X whatever designation. I could indicate that here and select that designation record. Now when it comes time to gift entry, I don't need to select that designation, and if I did, I could select that one and others, but I know that for the most part, this is the designation that I want to use for gifts that come in for this campaign.
Okay, because I think, Kendall, are you thinking that that's where the account numbers would go that would match?
The designation
numbers would go that would match accounting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The account numbers for accounting are to go on the designation record.
Right.
So if let me pull up a designation again. So again, we put this in the other day when we were going through training, right? We've got all of our GL codes for credit and debit. And this is where the accounting numbers go as they match up with a specific fund or designation name.
Yeah, that's the part that's confusing me because the campaigns need to be tied to those numbers too, right, Kendall?
No. Well, it's so. If you want to.
Because they are. Let me say this: they are now, aren't they?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not like I've kind of said. It's not a true capture. Our campaigns are not a true capturing of how the money came into us.
Okay. So this actually might be better.
Yeah.
Because you can select the account, the designation separately from the campaign, and still. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I think I get
this
it.
is. I'm going to oversimplify this, but you know, the campaign allows you to track how or why the donation came in, you know, donation form, event, etc. Destination allows you to track where the money is going to be spent or how it's going to be spent.
Okay.
Right.
And so this is, you know, when we first started going through your data and training, it's one of the things I think we talked about in one of our weekly calls, is that from a Razor's Edge perspective, again, organizations are always using appeals, campaigns, funds, packages different from one to the next. And it's always the most difficult transaction or transition from RE to LCRM is that process. Because again, what you might have called an appeal in RE was actually supposed to be a designation or a fund, and vice versa. And I'm not saying that's specific for you guys, but that's oftentimes what happens, because for whatever reason, there just isn't a lot of, I don't know, direction or instruction or whatever it is, that there's consistency when using these tools in RE from one organization to the next.
Right.
Yeah, to be honest, it's been very confusing for me, but I do think LCRM is going to make it easier once all is said and done.
Right.
Yeah, we used to use campaigns, funds, and appeals as intended, and then accounting kind of changed the entire reporting system, and so we changed everything. So it's a little backwards. So I think LCRM will help us set it up correctly again.
Definitely, and I mean from a data migration perspective, I didn't see issues. I mean, obviously, what we defined as a designation versus a campaign in your historical data, I guess I wouldn't see issues there. But maybe from a naming convention, you might see campaigns that are supposed to be designations from a historical sense.
Right. Like you'll see gifts in there that say campaign online, fund online, appeal online, which is nonsensical. I mean, it doesn't give us any useful information except that it goes into the online account. So yeah, we have more flexibility here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just have to figure out how to set it up.
So, Lindsay, to answer your question, yes, we get to select a campaign. It was one of the things that we recorded as part of our batch, that campaign field, along with the designations. And we definitely can change it, but we're only selecting one campaign. You can select an infinite number of designations. Okay. Now, the other section that we have here is called donation contact roles. This is where we would go ahead and give somebody soft credit for a gift that they've received. All right, so for example, I'm going to go ahead and create another batch for you in a second, but I promise we're not going to spend more than 10 minutes on it. There's just some extra things I want to show you. But if we had a donation that had a soft credit, we would see two different names here. One would be Matt Devine as being the donor, but then we'd also see another person's name here, and they would have the role of soft credit. Okay. And that soft credit, again, gets applied in two places on a contact record. One of them is in this hard credit combined giving summary, soft credit giving summary. The other one is in the individual soft credit giving summary, so you can track separately donations that came from the person and then donations that they influenced. Now, in a second, I'm going to show you how to apply soft credit for a gift when it comes in the batch. But if we don't do it there, it's okay. For example, I've got a little button here that says Edit Contact Roles. If I click this on the donation, it allows me to go ahead and find somebody else that I want to go ahead and apply soft credit to. I'm going to say that Steve Smith is going to get soft credit for Matt Devine's gift. And we will say that it's all 100% of it, or $75. In Luminate CRM, you can indicate if a person should receive full 100% soft credit or perhaps a portion of it. And not only that, you can actually give multiple people 100% soft credit for a gift if you wanted to as well. The only thing that I recommend as a best practice is that everybody is consistent. If you're giving multiple people 100%, or multiple people $75 for this one $75 gift, make it a rule across the board. If the requirement that you split this amount up and you never go above 100% total, then let's make sure that's a rule across the board so everybody is aware of that. What happens, and I've seen this and it becomes really messy, is that if multiple people are doing gift entry and they have their own rules for who gets what type of soft credit, then somebody's going to look like a much more significant donor than another person, even though that maybe they should be the same, just because they're getting extra soft credit where the other person is not.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, and I would think we would just not go above 100%.
once you selected the people and how much they should get, you can click Save and Continue. So lock those in place. And this is the save button as well. And then...
Hey, Matt, I think something happened because I can't hear you very well anymore.
Oh, hang on.
There we go.
Oh, better?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So this time in the contact role section, you can see here, it's not just Matt, but we also have references to John and Steve and their soft credit amounts they get. And if we went to John or Steve's record, you will notice that if I look on Steve's related list for donations, well, I see a gift that's from Matt Devine. Why in the world is it listed under Steve's related list? If we dig further, we would know why. It's because Steve got soft credit. And so it's going to be listed here under his name with any other gift that he might make. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So again, this is what our single donation looks like. I'm going to go back to my batch and show you a couple other things. Remember, we also created that pledge for Matt Devine, that 5-installment pledge. So a couple things happen when we create a pledge. Number one, we have this overarching, I like to call it a parent pledge record, and it tracks all the details about this pledge. The total amount we're ultimately supposed to receive, the campaign that it's a part of, the last payment date, the next payment date. You could ignore the fact that this can be illuminated online. This field is going to apply whether or not it's an online gift or an offline gift. We can see the last payment amount, the next expected payment amount, the total amount of donations we've received or installments that are part of this pledge, along with what's outstanding. There's that designation, and here's our payment schedule as well. Again, we said pledge on a monthly basis, the third day of every month. Okay, and again, here's those honor memorial fields again, if we were using them. But what also happens as a part of that pledge, because we've indicated that it's going to be 5 installments, 5 individual records were also created as a part of this pledge record. So 5 unique donations, all within my one parent pledge. Now, what's unique about these is that when we recorded this gift as a part of our batch, we recorded as receiving that first installment. So gift number 1 we can see here, it says 2/25, the stage has been received. But for installments 2, 3, 4, and 5, the stage is pending, meaning we haven't received the funds yet. But fast forward to September 3rd, we received the funds. This donation would get changed from pending installments to received.
Is that something we have to manually do, or is that automatic?
This will happen because if it's an online gift that's being processed through Luminate Online, all this is going to happen automatically. There is absolutely zero you have to do for recording a parent pledge or recurring gift or any installment records for a pledge or recurring gift. Luminate Online takes care of it all.
Okay.
In the case of an offline gift, that person who gives you a check every month, that's where you've got to come in and mark installment number 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. as being received.
Okay.
And we can do that as a part of a batch, actually. So you don't have to go in and find the transaction. You can record that as a part of a batch like you do everything else.
Awesome.
So the other type of gift we recorded, if you recall, was that recurring gift. But in the case of this recurring gift, we didn't actually record any installments, right? We just said, hey, we want to put this in here, but we don't have any installments listed like we do for a pledge. Again, we don't know how long a recurring gift is going to last, so it's silly to put in 5 recurring gift installments because ultimately it might be 10, 20, 30, etc. So that's why you don't see anything here like we did a second ago with those 5 pledge installments on that pledge record. The details that are being recorded ultimately, though, are very similar to a pledge. It's going to track for us the number of payments received and the total amount of those payments, the balance overall, so it's going to track for us how much have we received total for this recurring gift, will continue to add up for us. We can see our payment schedule, our designations, and again, honor and memorial information here as well. Okay. So again, this is what that parent pledge record, parent recurring gift record looks like. And as we get recurring gift installments that come in, again, whether online or we're recording them in Luminate CRM for cash and check perhaps, those installments are going to come and exist within my donations related list here as unique records. Are we following so far?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Let's jump into the batch again. I think the best part about the batch, and obviously we went through this, it went really slow the first time. This goes very quickly when you start entering in donations. And the part that I think makes it extremely efficient is this next part that I'm going to show you. So I'm going to go to my batch template again, and I'm going to create another brand new batch. Okay. Now this time, let's get crazy. Give it a name, version 2. And let's say that this time we've got 50 donations we've got to record for the day. Total amount is $10,000. Let's click Save. Let's enter in my gifts. So here's my batch. Let's enter in my gifts. Now this time, instead of 4 rows, we've got 50. Lots of stuff to do here. However, this can become extremely efficient. I'm going to go back to my batch options really quick and talk about 2 columns that we didn't talk about earlier. One of them is the default value, the other is the locked value. The default value comes in extremely handy because I can set default values for all those fields inside of my batch entry screen if I want to. So maybe I know that the majority of my gifts are coming from an individual. I can fill that in automatically. Well, today's my close date, the date that I'm recording them, so I can fill this field in by default. I also know that the majority of my gifts are going to come in towards my 2018 end of year online campaign. And the majority of them are also going to be processed as part of my one unrestricted fund. Most of these are going to be donations and have a payment type of credit card, or check, excuse me. Now what's going to happen next, I'm going to click Save My Batch Layout. Okay. My locked column, if I ever wanted to go ahead and create a batch, and I wanted to make sure that the values in this field were never changed for any of my fields, that's where this locked box comes in. I think it's very rarely used, but there is some value there if you're maybe creating a batch and you want to just make sure nobody else by accident changes the value because they're going to pick up where you left off in creating a batch. That's a stretch, right? But locked, that's what it will do. Default value, extremely handy, because check this out. I save my batch layout. I go back in and I enter my gifts. All these fields are populated for me already. So essentially, at the very most, all I'm doing is finding a donor, clicking his name, putting in his donation amount, and I'm done. I can go to row 2 because my date's there, my campaign is there, I've already had my designation entered, I know that these are all donations, and I've got my check payment type here as well. So the efficiency comes in by saying, let's look at my list of donations for the day. If I can set default values for some of these fields, then it's less that I have to do on a row by row by row basis. Now it doesn't mean that, for example, if I have Steve Smith here, and his $200 donation. Now let's say in this case maybe there was a different campaign. I can totally change that from the default if I wanted to. I could pick a completely different one. And I can really pick a different value for any of these fields that exist here. Okay? But what this batch default does allow me to do is, again, make sure that I don't have to go through and select the same values for row after row after row. They're already there for me. Again, making sometimes the maximum effort finding the donor and finding that donation amount. And then I go to the next row, and the next row, and the next row. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It's
Okay.
similar to what we do now.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So I think that's where, for organizations who don't have batch functionality, that's where this is really cool, if you will. All right. So from a batch perspective, this is the place where we're going to record our single donations, brand new pledges, brand new recurring gifts, but then also pledge installments that we get in and we want to record from Sphere, or pledge a recurring gift installments that we want to record if somebody's sending us a check as well. Any questions at all with our batch entry here?
No, I'm excited to use it.
The last thing that I wanted to show you that I didn't show you yet, I'm sorry, I forgot about this, is that I said that we can actually assign soft credit in the batch entry screen. One of my fields that I added here is contact roles, and if I click Configure Contact Roles, it allows me to find a contact, and give them a role, soft credit, and click Add. And this is automatically then going to give Steve soft credit for this donation. And I can add an infinite number of people here, or give an infinite number of people soft credit while I'm doing batch entry. Okay? The one caveat to this is that when we use the batch tool, everybody that we add here is going to get 100%. So what that means is that if you go ahead and you add multiple people as receiving soft credit, but you don't want them all to have 100%, after that batch is created, you can go in to the donation, like I showed you a second ago, and make an adjustment to those percentages. Okay? So back on Matt's $25 gift, let's say that actually John and Steve both received 100% because I recorded that soft credit as part of batch entry. I can actually come in here and edit this and change it to whatever percentage I want to, from 100%.
Okay, but if you're doing it from the batch, it has to be 100% until you...
Yeah, batch defaults to 100%, but you can change it.
Okay.
So you would save the batch, you come in and find that transaction, and you take these from 100% and put them at 50 or whatever the case is.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
Can you create, like, just trying to think. No, you wouldn't create campaigns on the fly because they have to roll up. Okay, never mind.
Yep. Campaigns and designations you cannot create on the fly in a batch.
Okay.
I had a question. So let's say we did our batch, or even if it wasn't a batch, just did a single donation, and this might be for another day. Is there a spot where you can go in, like when we said, where you were showing us this donor has been acknowledged, is there a prompt where we can access like a letter that we send out?
So there is nothing from a letter perspective that's default inside of Luminate CRM.
Is it just email?
There's nothing by default from Luminate CRM either. From
Oh, really?
Or acknowledgement perspective. So what organizations will do is they will some will run a report out of Luminate CRM, turns into an Excel spreadsheet, and then they do their classic mail merge using Word and Excel in the Microsoft platforms. Others will we'll work with them to set up an email that will go out for donors when we record gifts in a batch, and that acts as their receipt. The fallback, the drawback with that is that oftentimes if we get offline gifts, we don't know what somebody's email address is, so it doesn't really work well. But far and away, I think what the most common thing that people will do is they will actually, there's another app, it's called Conga Composer. It's not a Blackbaud app. It's a different third party altogether. And they structure this app in such a way where you can create your form letter in Word, upload it to the Conga Composer program, and it includes merge fields. And that way when you're finished recording your donations, you go through an easy 6-step process, and it generates all the letters for you for that specific day, or for a week, or for a month, or whatever your time frame is. And when it generates those letters, let's say you've got 10 donations, well, your document in the end of this process will include 10 pages, a unique letter in every page, and you can export it in a Word or a PDF format, and then you can print and mail.
And how do you spell that? What is that called?
It's Conga, C-O-N-G-A,
Okay.
Composer.
Okay. Now, you don't do training for that, or maybe it's not needed.
Yep, so I will do limited training for that.
Okay.
I know enough about the program to get it installed and to do the basics of creating a form letter, showing you guys how to populate it and export it. So essentially everything you need to know to like create that receipt, I can help you with that piece of it.
But this app is like a separate like cost and
yes,
all that. Yeah. Okay.
I believe it's somewhere around $1,000 a year.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that because it seems to change a lot, and also from nonprofit to nonprofit, it also seems to be different. So
has this ever come up before? Because I feel like that is a major thing. Did that come up in, like, did it come up in when you guys were? Oh, you weren't the specialist.
I'm not the. I want to say this respectfully. I'm definitely not the sales guy, right? So, when you talked about making the move from RE to LCRM with Blackbaud, if this was brought up,
yeah,
I have no idea what they might have told you.
They said there's a mail merge utility.
Yeah.
That you upload your letters.
Yeah. You want to know about this mail merge utility? So this is a hoot because again, obviously you went through this process with them probably 2 years ago now. But
I wasn't really involved, but yeah.
At that point it was really old. What I'm going to show you here is this utility called Multi-Purpose Mail Merge. Okay. Here's the deal. It's awful. It's no longer supported. It hasn't been supported in probably 3 or 4 years, or no updates or anything. And to even take this a bit further, so check this out. I'm going to click this, and I don't know if I get the details on the next page or not. Let me go back here. You need to have, number one, you cannot use a Mac.
Okay.
You can't use a Mac because you've got to use Internet Explorer, version 6+. Okay? Not only that, you've got to use a specific version of Microsoft Office.
Oh my gosh.
When I worked for, again, so this has been about 5 years now. I was working for a nonprofit, and we were trying to use this. We had to purchase a separate computer with a backdated version of Microsoft Office and a specific version of Internet Explorer. We had to make sure that it didn't get updated in order to actually use this and make it function.
Oh,
and it was the worst pain in the butt you can imagine.
Wow, I think they kind of pulled the cloth over our eyes on that one.
So without a doubt, I mean, you can see here, like my first pop-up, this feature requires use of Microsoft's Internet Explorer. All right? This service, it's just no longer actually, like, maintained and updated. Like, there's nothing. You're going to find documentation for use of this, like acknowledging receipts and donations in bulk. All right? But you can prepare the documents in Microsoft Word. You can go through the details. This will. Oh, here's what I was looking for. Right? You have to have Word 2002, 2003, or 2007.
Wow.
Version 7, 8, or 9 of Internet Explorer. And then these are the Windows versions you have to have and use. Notice Office 2010 is not supported. Like, it's a farce to say, like, this is a viable solution to anybody. It was a farce to say this 4 years ago. So, yes, I would be lying to you if I said that a mail merge process does not exist inside of Luminate CRM. However, it might as well not exist inside of Luminate CRM with how specific it has to be for all these requirements.
Oh boy, that is interesting.
So if you guys have a computer that fits these requirements, or you want to set one up to do
Probably
this,
not for the right person who needs to use it.
I mean, yes, like 100% there will be nonprofits that go the distance and make sure they've got a PC set up that fits all these things here. And I'm not kiboshing it. If you have this ability, then this is going to work great for, creating your letters. Hands down, it will. But if you don't have all these requirements, you can't use it.
I mean, if you do your letters every Friday, Lindsay,
I'll just have to do
the
these
export might even save you time, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, are you guys familiar with like the classic Excel, Microsoft Word, mail merge functionality?
Yeah. You know what I guess my biggest concern, it's not a concern, the only thing that will take time, well, it just depends if you use a batch or if you just enter a single one, is going back and checking that it's been, been the bonus for both places I worked at, is when you can do it right from if you were able to do it right from LCRM, it would automatically check for that person that they've been acknowledged. So the fact that I would have to go back in and check that, or even if I did it, and I'm not saying, I'll have to change the way I do it, but even if you entered a batch and you selected acknowledged for all those people, but then let's just say something came up, a project at the last minute, and I really didn't do it, but then I went back to look and was like, oh yeah, I guess I did acknowledge them. You know what I mean?
Yes. So that's exactly what I was just going to show you, is that for some organizations who use the classic environment, when they're putting in their gifts, they will include these two values here in their batch and mark these as acknowledged and or receipted, because they know as part of step 1, let's record the batch as step 2 later as part of this day, because it's what I do all the time, or at least maybe the next morning. I'm going to go in and actually generate these receipts. So that way they're not going back in and going one by one and marking all these.
Right, and I'll have to just figure out a process that works, but I think that's the thing that I'll probably miss the most.
Yep. The other application that I refer to, like the Conga application, that automatically checks these automatically when you're doing the receipting.
Oh,
so whether it's that day or
cool.
5 days later, it'll record for you that they've been receipted. It'll record the receipt date. It'll record the receipt amount.
Okay.
But again, this is sort of your shortcut, if you will, to just simply using it in this fashion.
Okay.
And again, I'm not. I apologize.
Glad I asked that question.
Yeah, and I apologize if I came across negative, because by all means, if you have a computer that you can install all these different things on, it's going to work great for you. It's just so limiting, and so many people don't have these 3 specific things to make it work.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you were honest about it. It's definitely something that we will have to figure out a little bit of a workaround.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
So.
Guys, I have to hop into a meeting, but this has been fascinating.
Yes.
Let me know if you need me or email me. Okay.
The longest
Have a great day,
of your
guys.
life. Thanks, guys. All right.
Oh, no, you can stay on with Lindsay. I have to run.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Have a good weekend. Lindsay, do you have any other questions? I don't want to take this too much longer because...
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
2
hours is like my max. I'm like,
oh gosh. 2 hours is even long sometimes, especially when you get into this stuff.
Totally. No, it's actually been really great. I'm really happy because it's so much more similar to what I was used to using, where Razor's